It was a quiet night. The queen and her handmaids came out just like they always did. They walked softly under the palace windows and headed to the fountain. But this time, something strange happened. 10 of the women weren't women at all. They were men in disguise. Then the queen called out, "Where are you, Saeed?" And out of nowhere, a huge, scary-looking man jumped down from a tree. He ran straight into her arms and said, "I am Sahad al-Din Saud." She laughed like it was the funniest thing, and they didn't stop there. For hours, the queen and her group did as they pleased, showing no care for anyone watching. When they were done, they washed in the fountain, put on their clothes, and walked away like nothing had happened. The king watched everything from the shadows. He was frozen in shock, his heart heavy with pain. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Only when I'm alone can I escape the evil of this world. By the God, life is nothing but a great betrayal. By God, life is nothing but one big wrong." That's what King Shahryar said. His voice was heavy with anger and pain. Then he turned to his brother and added, "Don't try to stop me in what I'm about to do." His brother, Shah Zaman, nodded and replied, "I won't." And so, Shahryar said, "Let's leave this place. Let's walk away from the kingdom and everything we've ever known. We'll wander the earth, worshipping God until we find someone who's suffered a fate as terrible as ours. If we can't, then death will be better than living like this." The two brothers quietly slipped out of the palace through a hidden door. They walked endlessly, day and night, until they reached a peaceful meadow. In its center stood a tree, next to a spring of fresh, sweet water. They drank deeply and sat down under the tree to rest. But then, after an hour of quiet, a sound broke the calm. A deep, rumbling roar rose from the sea, a sound so loud it felt like the heavens themselves were crashing down onto the earth. And then the sea broke open in front of them, sending waves crashing against the shore. From the water rose something dark, a black pillar stretching higher and higher until it reached the sky. It wasn't long before the pillar started moving toward the meadow where the brothers sat. Fear gripped their hearts. Without thinking, they scrambled up the tall tree nearby. From there, they watched, clinging to the branches, to see what this strange thing could be. As it drew closer, they could finally see it, a Jinni. He was huge, taller, and broader than anything they'd ever imagined. His skin was dark, and his chest and arms looked as strong as stone. On his head he carried a crystal box. The Jinni waded through the water and stepped onto the shore. When he reached the tree where the two brothers were hiding, he stopped. Setting down the crystal box, he opened it carefully. Inside was another container, a casket locked with 7 steel padlocks. The Jinni reached for 7 steel keys hanging by his side. One by one, he unlocked the padlocks. The brothers held their breath, watching closely from the branches above. When the last padlock clicked open, the Jinni pulled out a young woman. Her skin was pale, glowing like moonlight, and her figure was graceful and slender. She looked like something out of a dream, as if she were a moon shining on the clearest of nights, or a sun spreading its golden rays. The Jinni, after all his grand entrance, gently sat the young lady under the tree. He looked at her with eyes full of pride and said, "O love of my heart, O most noble lady, I took you on your wedding night so no one else could ever touch you or claim you. You belong only to me, and no one else has ever loved or known you as I have. Oh, my sweet, I'm so tired, I think I'll rest a little." With that, he stretched out on the ground. His massive legs reached all the way to the sea, and he laid his head on her lap. The Jinni drifted off quickly, snoring loudly, like rolling thunder shaking the sky. The young woman sat there for a while, her face calm, but her patience wearing thin. Finally, she raised her head and glanced upward. That's when she noticed the two kings hiding near the top of the tree, watching everything. The two kings froze in fear when they realized the young woman had spotted them. Their voices trembled as they called back to her, "By God and your honor, O lady, please forgive us. We can't come down." But the woman wasn't having it. She raised her voice just enough to make her point clear. "By God, you will come down right now. And if you don't, I'll wake up my husband, this Ifrit, and believe me, he'll make sure your deaths are the most painful and terrible imaginable." She kept signaling for them to climb down, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. The two kings, hearts pounding, had no choice but to obey. Slowly, and with great reluctance, they climbed down from the tree. When they finally stood before her, the woman gave them a sharp look and said firmly, "Now, strike me a strong blow. Don't waste time or make me ask again. If you hesitate, I'll wake my husband and he'll kill you on the spot." The brothers stammered, trying desperately to reason with her. "Oh, noble lady," they said, their voices pleading, "we beg you, don't make us do this. We're running for our lives, terrified of your husband. How could we possibly do what you ask under these circumstances?" The young woman cut them off with a sharp tone. "Enough with the excuses," she said. "This must be done. No more talk." Her voice grew colder as she raised her hand to the sky. "I swear, by the one who holds the heavens without any support, if you don't do as I command, I'll have you both killed and your bodies thrown into the sea." The threat sent shivers down their spines. King Shahryar, trembling, turned to his brother and whispered, "Oh, my brother, I beg you, just do what she says." But Shah Zaman wasn't about to be the first. Shaking his head, he replied, "No way. If this has to happen, then you go first. I won't do it until you've done it before me." The two brothers began arguing, each one trying to push the other to act first. But the young woman wasn't in the mood for their hesitation. She folded her arms, a sharp edge in her voice. "Why are you wasting time arguing?" she snapped. "If you don't step forward and act like men, I'll wake up the Ifrit right now. Let's see how that works out for you." Her words chilled them to the bone. Terrified of what the Jinni might do if awakened, the brothers gave in. They did exactly as she commanded, trembling the entire time. When it was over, she sat back and said with a smirk, "Well done." Then, from her pocket, she pulled out a purse. Opening it, she revealed a knotted string with hundreds of seal rings strung together. She held it up, the rings glinting faintly in the light. "Do you see these?" she asked the brothers, her voice sharp and mocking. They stared at the rings, confused, and stammered, "No, we don't know what those are." With a sly smile, she said, "These are the rings of 570 men who've all been with me, right under the nose of that ridiculous, filthy Jinni. Now hand over your rings, too." Shahryar and Shah Zaman hesitated, but knew they had no choice. They pulled off their rings and gave them to her, their faces pale. She held up the collection with a laugh. "You should know," she said, her tone biting, "that this Jinni stole me away on my wedding night. He locked me in a casket, put the casket in a coffer, sealed it with 7 padlocks, and sank it to the bottom of the raging sea. All so no one else could touch me. He thought I'd stay pure and untouched forever. She laughed again, louder this time, shaking her head. But I've been with as many men as I please. The Jinni is blind to one simple truth. A woman's will cannot be stopped. If she desires something, nothing in heaven or on earth can stop her from getting it. Two brothers stood frozen, her words still echoing in their ears. They couldn't believe what they had just heard or seen. This woman, a mere human, had not only outsmarted but completely dominated a fearsome Ifrit. Without another word to them, she calmly returned to the sleeping giant, gently lifting his massive head back onto her lap as though nothing had happened. Then she turned her gaze upward to where the brothers stood. Her voice was quiet but firm as she said, "Now go. Leave this place. Put as much distance as you can between yourselves and his wrath. You've seen enough." The brothers didn't wait for a second warning. They stumbled away, their hearts pounding and their minds spinning with what they had just witnessed. Once they were a safe distance away, Shahryar broke the silence. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "God above," he muttered, shaking his head. "There is no power and no might but with God, the glorious, the great, and we must seek his protection. If a woman can tame and trick an Ifrit, what chance do we stand against them?" Shah Zaman nodded solemnly. "Brother, you're right. Her cunning is unmatched. Did you see how easily she bent him to her will? That Ifrit is a creature of immense power, and yet she controls him as if he were no more than a fool." The two brothers stood still for a moment, lost in thought. Then Shahryar spoke again, his tone full of wonder and disbelief. This calamity is even greater than ours. If such a mighty being can't escape the tricks of a woman, what hope do men like us have?" Shah Zaman sighed deeply, his face hardening. "You're right. Let's return to our kingdoms. But hear me, brother. We cannot trust women. Not after what we've seen, not after what we've experienced. Let's make a vow here and now. We will never marry again." Shahryar clenched his fists and nodded. "Agreed. No woman will have the chance to deceive us again. We will show them the consequences of betrayal." The two brothers rode back to King Shahryar's camp, reaching it early on the third day. Once there, King Shahryar called together his wazirs, emirs, chamberlains, and high-ranking officials. With a cold resolve, he handed a robe of honor to his viceroy and ordered an immediate return to the city. Back in his palace, Shahryar took his throne and summoned his chief minister, the father of two daughters who, God willing, will soon enter this tale. His voice was sharp as he said, "I command you to take my wife and end her life. She has broken her promise and betrayed her faith." The minister obeyed without question. The queen was taken to the place of execution, and her life ended. But King Shahryar's wrath didn't stop there. Sword in hand, he stormed into his royal chambers. One by one, he executed every concubine and their servants, leaving none alive. Afterward, he made a solemn oath. His voice echoed through the halls as he declared, "From this day forward, I swear, every wife I marry will die the morning after our wedding night. No woman shall have the chance to dishonor me again, for no woman on earth is truly chaste." Meanwhile, his brother Shah Zaman, disturbed by all he had seen, asked for permission to return to his kingdom. Shahryar agreed, and Shah Zaman left, escorted and equipped for the journey back to his homeland. As for Shahryar, he gave his chief minister a grim new task, to bring him a new bride each night. One by one, the women were wed, only to meet their end by dawn. This dark practice continued for 3 long years. By then, the city was in chaos. The people were outraged. They cursed the king and prayed for his downfall. Mothers wept openly. Fathers fled with their daughters, and soon not a single young woman remained in the city. One day, Shahryar summoned his chief minister and demanded, "Find me a virgin to wed tonight." The minister searched high and low, but the truth was clear. There were no young women left to bring. Oh, dear listeners, as you've just heard, there are no women left in the city. None, except for the 2 daughters of the Wazir. What do you think? Can they survive the king's wrath? Or does fate have a different plan in store for them? Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and let the stories guide your way. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and share this tale with a friend who loves a good story. See you soon.